Everybody has exactly 2 things in common. We all gotta eat and we're all gonna die.
I got back from South Africa, which I will not shut up about.
Yes, I did urinate in my jorts.
Yeah, don't clap for them, clap for me, that's right.
Hi everyone. Thank you for attending the memorial service of Mythical Chef Josh. Josh asked me to clarify that this is not a roast. He'd prefer this to be a sous vide, then smoked over applewood chips, low and slow for about 45 minutes. My name is Nicole, and I was Josh's friend and coworker for almost 4 years. During that time, I endured hundreds of thousands of unsolicited facts and depressing statistics. Because we were so close, it was difficult to differentiate between our social life and our work life. So instead of a eulogy, I've decided to present Josh an end-of-life employee review. We'll start with an overview of his performance. Mythical Chef Josh is 6'2", 215 pounds. Baby Gap t-shirt by choice. He stars in several Mythical Kitchen series, including Fancy Fast Food, Last Meals, Myth Munchers, and a few average TikToks. He is also the co-host of our podcast, A Hot Dog is a Sandwich. Please clap. Thank you. That's enough. But I feel like co-host is the wrong word, as he talks about 80% of the time. He was like if Gordon Ramsay was in Moonrise Kingdom. Now we're going to get into the areas of improvement. These are the things that he could have done better in his lifetime. Josh has a lot of problems listening and retaining information. He's like if a toddler took HGH. He handled work things like a friend and friend things like it's work. Like if he wants to talk about something on the podcast, he'd be like, hey bestie, it'd be like so slay if you could submit your time off request earlier. But if it's about our friendship, he'd be like, to whom it may concern, I have scheduled a calendar invite to go over the agenda, you bailing on lunch. In terms of his personality, he always thought he was more like Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but the only similarities they really have is eating over the trash can and they look like they sleep on a cot. Moving on, I've decided on some goals for Josh going forward. Number 1, be alive. Number 2, closed-toed shoes in the kitchen. Try it. It's actually pretty common. Encourage it even. Stop wearing flip-flops, Josh. If you write another cookbook, I choose a different name than the Culinary Bro Down Cookbook. I recommend the Culinary I Only Have Male Friends Because I'm Scared to Talk to Women cookbook. Wherever you go in the afterlife, stop bringing up how easy it is to get rid of a dead body all the time. Unless you're talking to Ian, it makes everyone uncomfortable. So next up, we have the conclusion. Josh shows great potential for hell. Anyways, in Josh's honor, let's all put protein powder sludge in our cereal and gatekeep.
I'm the medical examiner who performed Mythical Chef Josh's autopsy. The start of this autopsy was no different from the ones I usually do. That's because I typically examine the bodies of beached whales and alcoholic coal miners. Still, Josh has the most f***ed up body I've ever seen. Our first discovery was Josh's staggering amount of implants. Biceps, pecs, obliques. In fact, all of his muscles were implants. Obviously, except for his calves. Also, his personality was grafted from his ass. Look at him. The man was a machine. And by that, I mean he was technically a garbage disposal. Because all he did all day was slurp down yucky, stinky trash. I'm reading the report. That's the scientific term, yucky, stinky trash. That's what it says. Josh tested negative for anabolic steroids and off the charts for natty gains. He was fueled by something commonly found in humans, body dysmorphia. His head was full of larger dreams than starring in a YouTube channel. And his heart was exhausted from going back and forth, sucking down cheeseburgers and deadlifting 3 times his body weight as a treat. Josh's blood type was A1. The steak sauce. Josh's larynx was overworked from talking nonstop about where pasta actually comes from. Josh's lips contained traces of Rhett's and Link's butts from kissing their ass all day. Meanwhile, Josh's ass contained traces of Trevor's lips. Seeing this, I discreetly swabbed Trevor's ass, and they had traces of Nicole's ass on them. And Nicole's ass had Josh's lips. The Mythical kitchen team is one giant human centipede obsessed with the melting point of Swiss cheese. Also, all of you need to watch your asses. Literally, it should not be that easy to swab each and every one of you. I swabbed Damien's ass just sitting next to him. Oddly, I only found traces of his own lips. Josh's abs were 4 Hawaiian rolls taped to his stomach in case of emergency. I thought he had a 3rd nipple. It was a pepperoni. And of course, Josh had what we in the field call a pig in the blanket. By that I mean he was always wearing a condom because he was, quote, working on a marinade. After performing such a harrowing autopsy, I have decided to quit medicine. This is my last day, but I'm excited to take on a new position, handling a major public health crisis by defarting the Mythical kitchen office.
Well, I'm next, so this is so sad. Like, I barely knew him. Well, damn. I am deeply saddened by the loss of Mystical Chief Josh. He was very talented, very strong, and wore glasses. Okay, but let's be honest. His job was super easy. You cook some food, and then you film it. Like, what? I do that. I cook, I eat, I work out. Where's my salary? So here are some reasons why I, Olivia Sway, should be the next Mythical chef. You're dead, dude. Okay, like Josh, I can also give dumb cooking tips. Like, make sure to rinse your olive oil. Like, what does that mean? At this point, I'm even confident that I can write a better cookbook than Josh. Like, a funnel cake burger? Where did you learn to cook? Dave and Buster's bathroom? I can say dumb facts about food, too. Like, give me a food.
Lasagna.
Lasagna is a food. So, yeah, vote for me, Mythical Chef Olivia. I didn't mean it.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, no. Hi, everyone. It's me, Tom Hanks. You might know me as America's last non-canceled celebrity as of the current time we're shooting this video, which is significantly before this video comes out, so fingers crossed. I was a recent guest on the Last Meal series over on Mythical Kitchen because I love what you do. I love what you all do. No, I'm just kidding. A man called out I wasn't selling. But I'm here today to eulogize Josh by giving you some behind-the-scenes play-by-play from the time I spent in his office. Up close, Josh was kind of like my character in Big. He was also named Josh, and he looks like a child struggling to navigate the world in a grown man's body. That said, right off the bat, I like the guy. I think it's because he was basically a character from Forrest Gump. He had a buzz cut. Instead of running, he compulsively did CrossFit, and if he started talking about shrimp, he wouldn't shut the fuck up. Afterwards, I tried to exit the studio one way, and people said, "Don't go that way. That's Josh's fart corner." They said, "Josh will tell you it's his sneeze corner, but the sneeze sound didn't work as well as a cover-up as he thought." Oh, no! Josh tweeted about how after the interview was over, I asked him what he was reading right now, but that's not quite the truth. You see, I asked him if he could read because a producer had been holding up a sign for 15 minutes that said, "Wrap it up." You know, this was one of my hardest roles yet. To prepare to spend a time in a room with an unbearable egomaniac, I actually went method and had dinner with my son, Chet. You know, didn't this used to be a comedy channel? Is it all right if I do some jokes? Is comedy okay here?
Yeah.
All right. You know, Josh was going to be in a remake of one of my movies. We called it You've Got Mail, Growth Hormone. Overall, Josh and I had a lot in common. I'm a great actor, and Josh really acts like he can cook. And finally, I would like to change my last words. Just lose my number. All of you. Lose it. Please.
What's up, Primals? It's me, the Liver King. I'm sure you might be confused by my appearance. It's true. The Liver King has lost a significant amount of mass over the past few months. You know, recently the king was outed for allegedly using $12,000 worth of steroids a month while claiming to be all natural. So now I'm off the juice and presenting to you in my natural form. Went from looking like a Viking overlord to a Wish.com Rhett McLaughlin. Oh, man. Oh, sorry, you thought the beard was real? I mean, the muscles weren't natural. You really thought the beard was gonna be natural too? Primals want to know, how did Liver King and Josh become best friends? Well, we're both ripped and we make some of the most horrific looking food you've ever seen. We would pick up logs in the forest and he would feed me salmon made with fruity pebbles. We would exchange complex ideas like wearing backwards hats and making intolerable podcasts. Liver King has spent his career developing the 9 ancestral tenets. The 9 steps designed to restore man's connection to Earth. Those tenets were eat, sleep, fight, scam, lie, scam again, and 4 more tenets. Josh had his own tenets that he based his life around. Not to reconnect with Earth, but to reconnect with being an annoying meathead. I will now present to you Josh's ancestral tenets. The mightiest soldiers are always equipped with the finest jean shorts. All shorts should be jeans, and all jeans should be shorts. Other primals need to be constantly reminded of your knowledge. Spouting out random facts about food is way better than asking someone real questions like, how are you? Or why are you slowly backing away from me? Post more photos of yourself with food than with the love of your life. Make sure everyone is constantly aware of your presence by making loud chewing noises on camera. Be sure to travel to all different parts of the world. And if you can't do that, just post forever about that one time you went to South Africa. And finally, this last one, leg day. This one's left blank. Well, without Josh, Liver King needs a new compatriot, someone who practices physical excellence. And I've considered a couple of you due to your current habits. Shayne is a contender because he looks like he's sneaking hams into a movie theater. Damien is also a contender for keeping resistance bands at his desk and using them very loudly. But don't worry, he only uses them about once a month. In the meantime, I will be going to where all canceled YouTubers go. So follow my channel as I train to become an MMA fighter. Thank you.
They're real, man. They're real. Believe it.
I'm world famous sports commentator Linda Ball, and you're watching with all my 3 microphones because I got to make sure the TVs, all of them, can hear me. You're watching me. This is Josh Scherer's funeral. Make some noise. We all know Josh was a big sports fan, mainly Philadelphia Eagles. Congrats to the Eagles on their big Super Bowl win, or not. We don't know. We're shooting this before then. But wasn't Rihanna great?
Yeah.
Rihanna's great. Yeah. Crazy to know there was a game during her concert. That's great. Josh and the Eagles have a lot in common because Josh also sucked ass this year. Has there ever been an internet celebrity chef with more muscle than Mythical Chef Josh? He makes Julia Child look like Julia Baby. His physical abilities were absolutely immaculate. Josh was a track and field star at the great UCLA, which coincidentally stands for Uncool Loser Asshole. He was an athlete, but he walks around the office the way a duckling runs for its mother. I mean, watching him intro a video is like watching Michelangelo intro the Sistine Chapel. I'd be curious if any of you have heard the extended version of the show's intro, Mythical Kitchen, where dreams become food, food becomes shit, and shit becomes Smosh content. Josh has been featured on such lists as the Forbes 30 Under 30 and 5 Chefs Who Are 5. He interviewed amazing guests like Tom Hanks and Josh Peck. He also worked with lackluster guests like Damien Haas. That joke was a stretch, but much like resistance bands from rumor has it, Damien uses in the office very loudly. Undefeated by all foods except for celery, he says it's because he doesn't like the taste. But the real reason is because he doesn't like the food that's louder than him when you're eating it. Josh always stood up against adversity, like when he made his friend V, also me, go to CrossFit even though she didn't want to. I heard more grunting than a prize pig at the county fair. He always took great care of his body. After a podcast recording session discussing if a fork is a sword or whatever, Josh would always be sure to hydrate with a fresh thirst trap. Who could forget about such classics as Buff Guy Holding Ham, Buff Guy Holding Sandwich, and every Tinder user's nightmare, Buff Guy Holding Fish. To honor Josh, instead of hanging a jersey, we have a beautiful pair of jorts over here. These are ugly. Josh, you will be missed, and we are not going to retire your number because you don't have one.
Josh has finally passed. And now we have no more buff men with zero sex appeal to put in our videos. Normally, it's Tommy who does these ones, but Tommy's out sick. He's out sick of doing the same bit 12 funerals straight. Or 12 funerals gay. I'm honored to be here today to be a part of Josh's funeral. Some of you may know this, but both of us were raised Jewish. We're of the chosen people, but if it was up to me, I would have chosen to never have known this guy. In line with Jewish tradition, before we bury the body, it must be washed. Luckily this morning, before he passed, which was in the afternoon, Josh bathed in his daily bath of pasta water and creatine, so that's also the smell. As well, in a Jewish funeral, you're supposed to bury the body in a very simple box. So luckily today, we've got one that is covered in Smosh branding. All right, Josh's will. Now to Olivia. Josh has left you his croissant recipe, which of course you won't be needing because you're already flaky and way too expensive. Ian, Josh has left you his paring knives because everything you say is dicey. As well, he left you his knife sharpener to help with that dull person. You know it's coming. Yeah, we all know it's coming. It's not a funeral without one of these. Your personality's dull. Shayne, Josh has left you his teaspoons because you've got little spoon energy. V, even after Josh's passing, he's requested that you keep your job in the Mythical kitchen. We know that you were hired during COVID, and it's insanely obvious that Rhett and Link had no taste when you came through. Nicole. Ooh, Nicole. This is interesting. You don't get anything cooking related from Josh. You said you don't need any new cooking materials, just his jean shorts, because he always seems to cut you off. Trevor, Josh has decided to leave you with some lion's mane mushrooms because you look like Eddie Redmayne high on mushrooms. Arasha, you will receive a pot of boiling water because most people can't stand being in contact with you for more than a few moments. Sorry, I felt bad in the middle of saying it. This one, Damien. Damien, you will receive Josh's corner office so that you can finally use your resistance bands freely, which for some reason you thought was a smart idea to use next to the writers who write all of the jokes for the funerals. Josh, you will be missed, and it's safe to say that hiring you was the best decision Mythical made since finally kicking Smosh out of their office, so thank you.
We get reframed. A little tall over here. Ding dong, this chef is dead. Mythical Chef Josh has met his untimely demise. Let's talk about that. Hi, I'm Rhett. I'm a big man.
And I'm Link, and I'm slightly smaller.
And you're watching Good Mythical Morning. That's morning with a U. Today we've been given the task of eulogizing our former employee, Mythical Chef Josh.
Now, we're all sad to hear about the untimely passing of Mythical Chef Josh.
When I heard the news, I was doing goofy missionary sex with my wife. I reached my arm over to the living room and grabbed my phone and saw a text that Josh had died.
You know, when I had heard the news, I was saying...
Now, when I was in school, I played point guard.
All right, thank you for interrupting, but let's all remember we're here to talk about Josh.
The long and short of it is that we always found Mythical Chef Josh abso-fucking-lutely terrifying.
My shoulders have not relaxed in years. His eyes are cold and unfeeling and terrifying, like if a husky was a landlord.
His arms were absolutely shredded, like barbacoa, or me on a guitar, apparently.
Now, he's the closest thing we've ever seen to the Terminator, like he was sent here from the future to assassinate the Vibe.
But just because we feared him doesn't mean we have to miss him. Kind of like Damien's resistance band, which he's definitely not going to do anymore.
It's a shame, too, because he did them every day so quietly next to the loudest fucking talkers in the world. As they spoiled every episode of every show the day after it came out. I have heard. Have you guys seen Severance yet?
Oh my god.
Now, frankly, I don't know what we're going to do without Mythical Chef Josh.
Yeah, who's going to help us run our food podcast? Everyone knows the best part about food is listening to someone talk about it with zero visual aid.
All right, well, so let's just settle this right now, all right? Hot dog is a taco. Taco's a type of pizza. Pizza belongs in your glove compartment, and I am pissed off.
Yeah. Without Josh, who is gonna blankly stare at us like a cardboard cutout in front of an army recruitment table?
You know, before he died, Mythical Chef Josh is the one who helped us pick all of our video titles by drawing things out of a fishbowl. Now we're gonna have to do that ourselves. All right, let's see here.
Yep.
Okay, we've got Will It Taxes.
Let's go here. What's the best napkin?
Taste testing horses. I think that's legal. I think
that might be legal. Now, let's see. We tried every cup.
All right, so Cheesecake Factory versus Cheesecake Factory. All right, it.
All right. Mythical Chef Trevor does our wives. All right. Good luck getting Goofy Missionary right.
Little tip, big guy, it starts with across the bed instead of up and down.
That's right. Most of my body is off of it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Got a lot diagonal, if anything. Now, anyway, that's our filming slate for the next month.
Yeah. Going forward, we'll be doing our best to replace Josh, and I think we found the best candidate.
So far, our best bet is a Doberman Pinscher with an apron.
Be sure to check into Good Mythical more where we will be eating Mythical Chef Josh. It's part of a new series we're kicking off called Will It Haunt Us?
And be sure to join us next time this happens, which of course will be when Mythical Chef Trevor dies from being annoying.
Where the f is my pre-workout?
Oh no! Hey everybody! I am briefly alive. Actually, all the creatine and trans fats just put me into a brief coma. I will die again. But meanwhile, I just wanted to say something to y'all. One, Rhett and Link, this is by far the most we've ever talked outside of the Mythical office. In 5 years, I've worked for you for 5 years, and this is actually, if we were to time it, significantly the most. So thank you for that. That makes me feel really supported. As far as the people behind the mask, y'all are just mad that Will It Taxes would get 3 times more views than anything on the Smosh main channel in the past year and a half. That's what's up. Views are down. Rev is down. We all know it. It's what up. Anyway, everybody. I have been writing down a bunch of petty resentments in the office, just in case, for the past 3 years. Olivia, if you prepared to be the new Mythical Chef like you did for this roast, my God, that place would just crumble, so I'm not worried about it. What an absolute hack job on that. Sometimes you think the words will come to you, and they just don't. You know, we've all been there. Ian, you are the professional media version of the 35-year-old who crashes high school parties to give out whatever the shitty hipster version of White Claws are. Damien, you look like the 35-year-old lead singer of a Nightcore-themed emo band that would be playing at the high school party. That's and awesome. Then, fair enough. If you started the band, I'd probably listen to it. Olivia, we once competed against each other. I'm back. On Food Beppardy, and I put up the highest score of all time. Right before that, you said to me, I'm also into food, and I just think that's hilarious. Shayne, I didn't know you were a real person for like 6 months. I just thought it was Courtney doing a bit. I was like, wow, ASU Online, weirdly specific. I would have chosen Pepperdine Satellite Campus in Irvine. Noah Grossman, my Jewish grandmother said she couldn't imagine being more disappointed with her grandson's career choices, and then I showed her a picture of you. Congrats, you will never be able to get buried in a Jewish cemetery for no specific reason either. They'd just be like, oh, like a vault, get him out of here. Arasha, great to meet you. That was hilarious. Unreal. Just great stuff. Cool, all right. Trevor, if you were born any time period other than the current moment, you would have died before reaching puberty. That frail disposition would have been wrecked by cholera or manual labor, maybe even just a light rain. Nicole, if you say you didn't grow up in the, quote, nice part of Beverly Hills one more time, I'm going to start the fucking Occupy Mythical kitchen movement and camp out next to your desk. V, I know you steal my ground turkey out of the fridge. I know you steal my ground turkey. That is not communal ground turkey. I bring that ground turkey from home. It is bought with my money. Stop stealing the ground turkey. And who the is that guy?
Me. I'm Lily. I'm Saxman. And I'm sad that Josh is dead, but I'm excited to see him finally go to hell and reunite with his parents.
And that is my out. Wow. Can I be alive? That was a really great time. That was super fun. Thank you everybody for I know how to talk to women. It's just sometimes I get nervous.
Have you ever thought maybe they're afraid to talk to you?
You know, I'm mulled over the possibilities.